The views, opinions, and statements expressed in the following program reflect the views of the program contributors and do not necessarily reflect the views of AAA Broadcasting LLC and its management or its sponsors.
Have you joined the Happily Ever After Club?
Happily Ever After Club?
हाँ, Happily Ever After Club. Membership is automatic once you buy your dream home from Amit Inamdar. He is both real estate and mortgage broker. One stop, no need to shop.
Oh, Amit Inamdar from Own Sweet Home.
Yes, that's Amit from OWN Own Sweet Home. Call him today, 510-364-6686. Again, 510-364-6686. Or visit ownsweethome.net. That is ownsweethome.net. DRE number 013555522 and MLS 236574.
वेलकम दोस्तों इन येट अनदर एक्साइटिंग शो। आपको पता है कि ये बहुत ही स्पेशल शो होता है। एवरी फ्राइडे एट 4 o'clock वी आर जॉइंड विद Amit Inamdar. As you all know that this is really a power-packed 30 minutes of information on real estate. And आज हम बात कर रहे हैं appraisals पे. तो अगर आपके पास कोई भी real estate related question हो, तो you can call us at 510-770-1550 and ask a question on air. However, just in case you are unable to get us through the line, all you have to do is go on to Amit's website, which is ownsweethome.net. Click on the radio show link to submit your question and we will actually take up that question on air. And Amit is always available online actually. All you have to do is just search for Amit Inamdar, Google his name, and he'll just be right there waiting for you. For some reason, if you just forget everything else, ownsweethome.net is the website, and you can also give him a call at 510-364-6686. Let's start off the show with welcoming Amit. Amit, welcome to your show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Harleen. And hello, friends. Own Sweet Home and welcome to my show, Power Hour with Amit Inamdar. You know, the appraisals that we are going to talk about today are very integral part of real estate transactions. Typically, the appraisals are required when you get a loan, and they are typically done to protect the lender. If you are buying something for all cash, it's up to you whether to do an appraisal or not. So, the reason it is done to protect the lender is because lender is giving you money to purchase the home, and lender wants to make sure that their money is protected. The typical home appraisals are always performed by a licensed real estate appraiser. So when buyer's contract for purchase gets accepted by the seller, many times it's conditional upon home appraisal coming in at the price the buyer is paying. In today's markets, if you look at it, the appraisal continues are waived by the buyers who have enough down payment to purchase the home. And it's, as you know, the low appraisals can break the real estate deal also. In rising markets of today, the appraisals are lower than the contract prices in many cases. And as buyers and sellers agree on the purchase price and the terms of the home sale, that particular purchase price is basically the market value of the home if that deal closes. However, the appraisals that are done, they are usually backward looking because they look at the properties that are already or recently sold in the neighborhood. And since it's a rising market, the recently sold properties are always below what buyers and sellers agreed to buy it today. And you are always going to have this mismatch. So the appraisers, when they actually do an appraisal, they look at all these sold properties and try to match the characteristics of the subject property with the sold properties and try to come up with the appraised value of the property.
Got it. तो अमित, जैसे आपने मेंशन किया कि appraisals are very very critical to home purchase transactions. Can you elaborate that, थोड़ा एक example के साथ ताकि समझ आए कि why are they so critical?
Sure, absolutely. So imagine there is a home for sale for $600,000 and you decide to pay the full price. We really don't know whether the seller has priced the home correctly or not. However, let's say you get into a contract and the property appraiser comes in with a value of $500,000. How will you feel? I mean, overpaying by over $100,000 on a property just because seller wanted $600,000. And so at that point, I mean, let's assume due to the market, that's the only price the seller is willing to sell at because there is no inventory in the market, and you also like the property so much you are going to buy the home. And you originally agreed to say pay 20% down on a 600K. So that means you are actually committing around $120,000 of your money to buy that home. However, the appraisal came in at $500,000. So if you look at the lender says he's not going to overpay the loan amount or lend you the more money just because you chose to overpay. So he's going to lend you 80% of $500,000. So that's only $400,000 of loan you will get. If that happens, then you have a difference of around $200,000 between the purchase price and the value that lender is going to give loan on. And that $200,000 has to come from your side. And if you only prepared to pay around $120,000 to start with, now you need to have extra $80,000 in the whole process. Now, just because of that, I mean, the buyer, if he has an appraisal contingency in the contract, may choose to back out and say, hey, I really don't want this property because I'm overpaying for this. And the greedy sellers may lose a good buyer in that whole process just because they price the property high to start with. And if you don't do your due diligence in the beginning to see what the property is really worth, you may end up overpaying for it to start with. And then just to realize the property you fell in love with so nearly and dearly, you just have to back out of the contract later on just because of inability to come up with this extra money. Those are the things that typically happen. And if you have removed the appraisal contingency in situations like this, the 3% of the purchase price deposit you have paid as a buyer may actually lost to the seller. I mean, so the seller will be happy to take that and put the property on the market 3% less than what he's trying to sell for, just to make a $600K price, right? So
right. So it looks like, appraisal is like a serious business. Matlab, it's not choti si cheez. It's quite serious. What is an appraised value?
Yeah, the appraised value, I mean, there is a lot of values for the property. And appraised value basically is a value that is given by the licensed appraisal. And it's an opinion of value. So if you have two different appraisers go to the same property on a given time, they will come up with the two different values. Okay.
Achha.
All they are doing is following the guidelines, and in their mind, based on their experience in that particular neighborhood, they're coming up with this particular price. So he has to, both of them, of course, are following the guidelines, and those guidelines are basically to compare the subject property with the neighborhood sales and the neighborhood sales within maybe in the 1 mile radius or maybe pretty close to the complex that the property is in. And so those are the things that happen with an appraised value. However, as I said, there are multiple values for the home. For example, the listing price of the home that the home is listed at is the marketing value of the home. That's the value at which the house is marketed at. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that's the market value. Okay. The buyers and sellers agree on a price, and if the deal closes, that will be the market value. The appraised value is based on the sales that happened before this sale closed. So depending on whether the markets are steady or rising, it will be different than the market value also, because you chose to pay higher in the rising market. And there is also something called a assessed value. And if you kind of look at the county records, I mean, you will see, the property is priced at around $600,000. The assessed value is $300,000. How is that possible? Mm-hmm. That's just because the seller bought that property long time ago, maybe at $200,000, and his property assessment has gone up over the years to $300,000. And that's all the taxes he's paying based on that. The moment you buy the property, your property taxes are based on the purchase price that you pay. And that's how that happens. So typically, I mean, we have a Prop 13 in California, which allows the property taxes to be increased 2% per year. And in the rising market, that's true. If the markets actually go down, you can actually dispute the assessment the counties make and actually lower your property taxes.
Okay, so that means it's quite subjective in nature. So what are the typical property features that affect the value of the property?
Okay. First of all, let me tell you, I mean, if you think you want a loan or you have to get a loan on a property in order to make the purchase, and you look at a property that's a fixer-upper, where you just have to fix everything to make it livable, the lender is not going to give the loan, because when the appraiser goes to the property, he's going to say, hey, property is inhabitable, and the lender says, sorry, can't give you the loan because there is no structure that has a value, and you're not going to get a loan on that particular property. However, so property, if it's livable, then as a part of the appraisal process, appraisal looks at the home as a whole, and he actually measures the home and prepares a floor plan. So if you need a floor plan for your home, you need to wait for the appraisal to be done. Mm-hmm. And in the appraisal report, there will be a floor plan in there. Lot of buyers of the home, since they use a different loan officer and a different realtor, they may not actually know all these things, because the contact with the loan officer is not as much as you have the contact with your realtor. But Absolutely. When you're working with me, it's the situation is different. I'm actually helping you on both ends of the equation. And so I will actually look at the appraisal from that standpoint. So the appraisal also looks at the quality of construction. That means what kind of upgrades does the home have, like flooring, maybe the designer paint, maybe the kitchen has been upgraded. What are the unique properties or features of this home? Does the home has a swimming pool? And if it has a swimming pool, it actually increases the value of the home. I know many home buyers today don't want a swimming pool if they have a small kid, because they're afraid of the kid falling or running out and falling in the swimming pool. It's a risk, of course, and sometimes people actually decide to fill in the swimming pool and make a nice garden on the top of it. But at the same time, the swimming pool does increase the value of your home. Also, if you look at the lot sizes, unless the lot size is significantly different, you're not going to get like a lot of difference in the prices as such. The city lots that normal homes are built on, they typically are of the same size, plus minus 500-600 square feet here and there. Unless the lot is really big, then the appraisal may add some value. And he always adjusts those, but the difference you're not going to notice. That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. Also, the garages have value too. Like sometimes a home may have a 2-car garage, or may have 1-car garage, or may have a 2-car garage that is tandem. And those are the things that also change the value of the home. So knowing all that, of course, you have to look at the square feet of the home, and also look at the similar properties in the neighborhood that have similar square footage when the appraisal actually compares them.
Got it. तो जितने भी हमारे लिसनर्स हैं, हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं रियल एस्टेट की, और आज हमारा टॉपिक है अप्रेजल्स. इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन रिलेटिंग टू रियल एस्टेट, यू कैन गिव अस अ कॉल एट 510-770-1550. We have Amit Inamdar with us, and उनकी वेबसाइट जहाँ पर आपको काफ़ी सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल जाएगी is ownsweethome.net. That is like owning a very, very sweet home.net. And अगर आप ये भूल जाते हैं, या somehow it slips out of your mind, you just Google Amit Inamdar and all his details would just be right there for you. तो हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं अप्रेजल्स की, और कैसे अप्रेजल्स होता है. सो टू कंपेयर से 2000 स्क्वायर फीट प्रॉपर्टी, डज द पर्सन हैव टू हैव एग्जैक्टली 2000 स्क्वायर फीट properties to compare? Okay, you know what? Let's come back to this question. We have a caller.
Sure.
Hello, you're on air.
Hi, this is
I'm listening so first time, and Amit ji looks very knowledgeable.
Hi, absolutely. How can I help you?
And jokingly, I can change your last name to Imandar.
Yeah, that's guaranteed. That's one of the requirements of the agency relationships.
Yeah, it seems to be like that. So, you mentioned the first example, and then that contingency and appraisal and all.
Uh-huh.
So most time a buyer end up in losing the appraisal fee if appraisal comes lower?
Not necessarily. If you have an appraisal contingency, what we do is actually we say, hey, Mr. Seller, the appraisal has come in low. Would you like to lower the value? And depending on the situation in the market, if the markets are slow, the seller will reduce the value. If the markets are hot like they are today, the seller will not reduce the value. They will say, I got 2 other buyers right behind you, and they are willing to buy this property. And a lot of times nowadays, just because the market is so hot, the sellers are saying, hey, I want to have a buyer on the property who's not going to back out or negotiate the price later on. So why don't we actually select a buyer who does not have an appraisal contingency? Now, when you actually do that, the issue comes in, and a lot of times the other agent that's representing the seller may not know this, but the buyer has to have a lot of money to be able to remove the appraisal contingency. If the appraisal comes in like $50,000 lower, that's extra money he has to have in the pocket. Or, I mean, if you have a loan agent like I am, then I will actually switch your program from, say, 10% down, 20% down to 10% down, giving you extra 10% towards the appraisal contingency, So
I understand what you say, but my point is just on the appraisal fee. Suppose person wants to back out with the lower appraisal, and then will he get his appraisal fee refunded or not?
Definitely not. I mean, the appraisers are
that's the thing, even though they're like 100,000 higher, for no mistake of the buyer, he will lose his appraisal fee.
Right, and that's why you need somebody like me to work with you, who will tell you, hey, the price is 100,000 higher. Okay, it's not going to appraise at that value. You don't have extra cash to pay that. Okay, so there has to be some level of assessment that gets done, some level of estimates. I'm not saying I'm an appraiser or licensed appraiser, I'm not. But the thing is, based on my market knowledge, being a loan agent as well as a realtor, I know the market on both sides, and I can guide you.
That's where the experience plays the part.
Absolutely. And you hit it right on. I mean, let me continue with the question Harleen just asked me. So thank you for calling again.
Thank you. So, Hanji, I'll just repeat the question for everybody. So, if you're comparing a 2,000 square feet property, does it have to be exactly 2,000 square feet properties to compare it to, or, thoda upar niche chalega?
If they actually have a 2,000 square feet property in the market, that would be really nice. Then you just say, 2,000 square feet properties sell at this price, And but then you may not need his services either, because you just know based on what's out there and how much it costs. It's like going to a store and saying, hey, I want to buy a VCR, and not a VCR nowadays. Do you ever buy a VCR nowadays? But maybe
Apple TV.
Maybe an Apple TV, right? Exactly. So, and you may compare the prices and say, oh, this is value is there, so better value, so match it, and then I'll buy it. So same thing happens in the appraisals. So it's very difficult to find identical properties in real estate, because each house is different. I mean, we are different individually, so we like different houses, and they are not going to be identical. I mean, if they are identical, we won't be human beings as such. I mean, with our own ideas and own likings and stuff like that. So, and when the houses are of different size, the appraisal expertise comes into play. And those appraisal expertise basically, I mean, I have typical engineering question. Like engineers will say, hey, let's look at the price per square feet. But the price per square feet of a property that is smaller is a lot lower. I mean, price per square feet of a property that is smaller is a lot higher than the price per square feet of a property that is larger. So bigger homes have a lower price per square feet than the smaller homes. And you just can't do that.
Absolutely.
So I think we have a caller again.
Yeah. Hello, you're on air?
Hi, on home.
My name is Medina.
Hi, Medina.
Hi. My question to you is, my friend just bought a house, and she only bought it under her name, but her husband is not in the title or on the loan.
Yeah.
So she's going through a little issue. She's getting separated. So her question is that she wanted to know if her husband is going to be, when they go through divorce and everything is 50-50, it's still going to be 50-50 for her and her husband, because he's not in the title, he's not in the loan, everything was under her name.
Right. I mean, that's more of a legal question on for a divorce attorney to understand how the division of assets is concerned. But as long as her husband signs a quitclaim deed at the time of buying the property, saying he has no interest in the property, in a community property state, in my as far as I know this, she can have this as a separate property, but he has to relinquish that at the time she's buying.
He did.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I would say just consult a attorney on that part. But I mean, if that's what the case, that's probably right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you very
Madina.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We have another caller. Hello, you're on air.
Yes, I have a question. When you do run the appraisals and comparisons, if there's a short sale that was in last 6 months, as we know there was quite a bit last couple of years, is that into the consideration of the comparison and appraisal value of the home?
Right. And just like I said, and what's your name, ma'am?
I'm calling from San Francisco, Sunita.
Okay. Sunita, you said?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Sunita. One Sweet Home. Yes, that's a really great question. And as I said, the appraisal looks at the market as a whole. And so he's saying if the market is dominated by the short sales, then yes, he will use that short sale as a comparable. Okay.
Wow.
But if market is not dominated by the short sale, he should not be using that as a comparable. Okay. So it
And
just
if it's
depends.
dominated by, if there's...
It's a-
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand
I mean,
what
it
you're
just,
saying then.
right, exactly. So that's what the typical situation will be.
Okay, so what if there was only one that was a short sale, and there's only like, let's say, 200 homes, and it was a short sale, that is dominating that area then?
It depends on what. See, appraisal is allowed to go around up to like a 1 mile about the subject property. So if he's not able to find anything outside of that, of course, I mean, he will have no choice but to use that. So it depends on how he does it, and he has a lot of flexibility in doing things. I mean, I have seen appraisers use a low square feet home to get the price of a high square feet home higher based on the per square feet information, and that's completely wrong. I mean, and so the thing is, I mean, the appraisers do make errors. They are human beings, okay? So, and now there are rules and regulations as to which properties they can choose as far as square footage is concerned. They just cannot go and choose a completely like 1,000 square feet difference between the two properties. It may be like around 400 plus minus, maybe okay, where they can adjust it, but not more than that.
And what about the years? I'm sorry, I'm throwing more questions in there than I'm supposed to. What about between the years? Let's say there's homes that was built for 20 years, and there's homes that were built like within a mile for 50 years. Now they're comparing with the 50 years home with the 20 years home. That is another. That's like
no.
But I guess that is part of the comparison.
Right. So there is a yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, but there is a method to all these things. I mean, a newer home basically gets valued based on the cost approach to appraisal versus an older home basically gets on a neighborhood comparables. So they will do those adjustments as required, So, and unless they do that, those appraisals won't be accepted by the lender. And the lenders have their own quality control process. So they will actually make sure things do look at it. But sometimes, these things get skipped from the whole equation. And that's where you need somebody like me who can say, hey, I understand this market as a realtor and I understand the appraisal as a loan agent. And now, since he made a mistake, I have an ability to tell or dispute the appraisal, saying, okay, these are the things possible things he could use to maybe get the value where we want it, and why he should not have used the other one. And for that, you need the knowledge of both sides. If you just have one loan officer who is doing things for you, he has no knowledge of the market as far as what's selling at what price. And he doesn't even have access to MLS or sold properties to say or dispute anything.
Right, because there's been so many changes in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you, Sunita.
Thank you. Amit ji, बहुत सारे calls आ रहे हैं, but I just want to quickly play this ad, and then we'll be right back and answer any other questions that all our listeners have.
Sure.
Own sweet home. I dream of my own sweet home. Right here, right now, Amit Inamdar will show you how. Call Amit and you are set. Or just visit ownsweethome.net.
DRE license number 0135552 and NMLS number 236574.
वेलकम बैक दोस्तों, आप सुन रहे हैं पावर आवर विद अमित इनामदार. एज यू ऑल नो, वी हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट अ लॉट अबाउट द थिंग्स दैट गो इनटू अप्रेजल्स. तो जो हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, जस्ट वांट टू मेक श्योर दैट हाउ टू अंडरस्टैंड अप्रेजल्स. So can you tell us a little more about are the appraisals unbiased, and how does it really work? ऐसा लगता है कि काफी biased है, and people can actually swing it either way.
Yeah, I mean, as a consumer outside, you actually come across these things and you don't understand why the appraisal did what he did.
Right.
And just because it's an opinion of value, of course, it is going to be depending on what that person's experience really is. So if you look at what happened in, say, 2004 to 2007 timeframe, at that time, the local brokers were ordering the appraisals. And just because to get the business from the local brokers, the appraisals will raise the value to what the broker wants. Mm-hmm. And the lenders will pay the loan give the loan based on that higher value. And when the market dropped, the lenders lost money because they just gave higher money to the borrower, even though the value wasn't there. So those kind of mistakes can happen also in this real estate business. So, another thing that I kind of came across recently was we had a situation where I was representing the buyer doing his loan, and we bid about on a 685 property, we bid around 710, and we got in. And we knew the property was not worth more than 670. Mm-hmm. But, multiple offers, we had to do what we had to do. And we got in, and the appraisal came in. And the appraiser, I don't know whether he was dyslexic or what, but the thing is, he wrote down a property that was, say, 1537 square feet. He wrote it at 1357 square feet. And then per square feet price went up. Mm-hmm. And he was able to get the value. And he didn't just do it once. He did it twice in that whole report. Oh. Okay, so when I looked at the report and I said, I never thought the appraisal will come out that high. How did it come out that high? So I'm looking at it and I realize he's like flipping the numbers here and there. And that's how the property has come up. And if it happens once, I can understand. Happens twice, I don't know. But so we went back to the seller and said, hey, Mr. Seller, there is an error in the appraisal, and we will actually pay you what you're asking, maybe 10,000 above that. Or we will go and dispute the appraisal. It will come lower and we'll pay you 10,000 more than the appraisal. Okay, whichever way you want to do it. And our contingents were due like next day. Mm-hmm. And the seller said, well, he had multiple offers, so he's not going to budge. So fine. I mean, we backed out. My buyer bought another home another week, bigger, better home for the same price. And that actually home stayed on the market for 2 months and finally sold at the price we would have paid them anyway 2 months ago. So seller lost 2 months of mortgage on that home and all these things. So having both sides of the equation does help. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Amit, for giving us all this information. और मुझे लगता है हमारे जितने भी listeners हैं, calls are just coming in, but we really can't take your calls right now. Question अगर आपके पास है, all you have to do is go on to Amit's website, which is ownsweethome.net, and you can actually post a question over there. There's a radio tab. All you have to do is write in your question and we'll take up all your questions, or otherwise you can just give a call to Amit at 510-364-6686. अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं ये मुझे नंबर नहीं याद रह रहा, just search Amit Inamdar on Google and you'll find all the information there. We will be back on Friday at 4 p.m. sharp and answer any of your questions relating to real estate. तब तक आप सुनते रहिए रेडियो जिंदगी और खुद से कहिए जिए जा.
Have you joined the Happily Ever After Club?
Happily Ever After Club?
हाँ, Happily Ever After Club. Membership is automatic once you buy your dream home from Amit Inamdar. He's both real estate and mortgage broker. One stop, no need to shop.
Oh, Amit Inamdar from Own Sweet Home.
Yes, that's Amit from OWN Own Sweet Home. Call him today, 510-364-6686. Again, 510-364-6686. Or visit ownsweethome.net. That is OWNOwnSweetHome.net. DRE number 0135552 NMLS 236574.